week, I have been going through and diving deep in some different studies, and I came across one that was really interesting called life cycles. So, the way that we think affects the way that we feel. The way you feel affects the way you think, and the way you think affects the way you do. So when you think you are alone and you get depressed, then you feel like you're nothing, and then you act like you're nothing. This becomes a cycle. This turns into a continual cycle. And if you don't break the cycle, you'll stay in it and go round and round and round. And within that cycle, we then can call that chains. What is a chain? A chain is the same piece of metal in the same shape, repeated over and over and over again to connect it and have it go all the way in a circle. If you repeat the same life cycle over and over again and expect different results, you're just going to stay within your chains. And the problem is that the enemy doesn't want us to get out of that life cycle or to break those chains. And the only way to get out of that life cycle and to break chains is to find your identity. And he gets scared when we do that. Your anger is not a cycle, it's your chain. Your anxiety, not your life cycle, it's a chain. Drinking, video games, anything excessive that's keeping you in the same mode is not your cycle, it's your chain. And the problem is that we often don't realize that there's freedom in our identity. And when you know what you have, when you find your freedom, you will live according to the way that God has called you to live. In Isaiah 9:4 it says, "For God will break your chains that bind you." In John 8:36, "If the Son sets you free, you will be freed indeed." Right? And one of my all-time favorite verses is Matthew 39. Actually, it's not, what is it? 10:39. And it's about our identity. And when we try to find our identity by ourselves and look for discovering ourselves, which is the fad for, the last decade? Oh, go discover yourself. Go do this. The problem is if we're not doing it correctly, we actually lose ourselves. And that's in Matthew 10:39. And it's whoever finds their life will lose it. And whoever loses their life in me will find it. And so when we decide what we're going to put our life into and what we're going to sink our teeth into, we will find that we will then develop the characteristics of God and discover our freedom to be totally set free, break those cycles, those chains that are holding you back from the next level. So that's what I have.